how you doing? It's Jeff Sinker from SkyguitarLessonsOnline.com. This lesson we are going to be looking at the Lydian scale and how we can make it a lot more simple to use, how you can hear the Lydian mode coming out when you're playing through your scales, and I will be showing you some little ideas that will help you expand your Lydian playing. Now, Lydian has probably been one of my favourite scales whenever I really want to create something nice and exotic. That raised fourth degree of the scale just really does make the scale stand out. But for a lot of people, when they first encounter the modes, they find it very, very confusing. There is so much conflicting information out there on the internet, and probably people will say, yes, I'm adding to it. But really, when I teach my students, I'd like to put them in a situation where they can use their previous ideas of playing and then to expand into the world of modes. And really, in this lesson today, this is what I want to pass on to you. So, you know the drill. Stick around. Don't go away.
Preview.
So here you are, your intermediate level in guitaring, and your instructor, or you've been on the internet and started to talk about modes. And it just starts to sound very intimidating and very daunting. All this information that's out there on the internet, a lot of it is very, very good. Some of it is awful. Hopefully this won't be classified as this. Now I'm approaching this lesson as I would approach with one of my students. So let's start taking it stage by stage, and let me go and try and make the idea of playing the Lydian mode a lot more simple for you. First off though, what is the Lydian mode? Well, the Lydian mode is the fourth degree of the G major scale. So it will contain the same notes as G major. G major is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now I'm using C Lydian. I'm kind of working backwards to this. I'm using C Lydian so you can see the difference between a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and a C Lydian, which is going to be C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. So the only difference is that F sharp that we've got in there. Very important you remember that. There is, as a major scale, Lydian being a major scale, there is only one difference in the note, and that is the raised fourth note that you're going to play. All the notes are taken from G major. So you could, if you wanted, just play a Lydian scale, just starting from the fourth note of the G. Still part of 3 notes per string, G major, but I'm starting on the fourth. Some people think, oh, I shouldn't be doing it that way. But again, for a beginner, it's very easy to think about the major scale and just work from that fourth degree. In fact, if you click on the link, I'll include it. Lesson I did a long, long time ago, where you name your fingers based on the notes. And the Lydian starts on the second string, which on the A string. So I call this finger your Lydian finger. You just place it on that C note and play as though you're playing 3 notes per string for a major scale. What a lot of people, when they first get told to play the modes, they get told make a note, a C note in the background, and then play your scale. Well, I do this as well. Tell them, just get, if you can get a sound of a C note, and just play over the top, create your ideas. Really, that's just for getting them used to getting the correct finger placements and just working through the scale. What I then like to do with my students is get them to start to hear the sound of the Lydian scale through chords. Now, we've already established that C Lydian is taken from G major. If we harmonize G major, we get these chords. We get a G major, we get an A minor, we get a B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and then we get an F sharp diminished chord back to the G. Being Lydian being a major scale, we are going to try and keep the sound of the chords as major chords. And there's no rule that says you have to do that, but for this lesson, I'm going to look at using a major chords. What I'm trying to do here is to move between two chords, backwards and forwards, but still capture the sound of the Lydian scale. Now we know we're in C, so we're going to be using C major. That's your opening chord. But where can I go to still create the sound of the Lydian scale to get a really nice sound, so that when I'm soloing over it, I'm not just got a static chord here, I've got some harmony coming out. Well, I'm going to go to the next major chord, which in this case is D. We've got a C going to a D. But I can't just play D. If I did that, then I really would be in a sense playing Ionian. I need to pull it to this note of C because we're playing the C Lydian over the top of it. So what I need to do is play a D, but I need to have a C in the bass. So it's pulling itself back to this C. It's keeping everything firmly entrenched in the C. So I can play my C chord, not a problem. If I go to a D chord, I've now got to kill the D as the root note, and I've got to bring the C in the background. So that's one method. I play the D, just kind of beginner's chord D, and I bring my little finger over, kill out the D string by muting it with the little finger. I can use that method. What I want to do though, I want to keep it here in the center of the guitar, and you'll see why as we go on with the lesson. We've got our C there. Now, what I'm going to use the D here, which is across 5 and 7 fret, but I'm not going to play the D, I'm going to play a C here. So I'm going to play this 5, 1, 3 here on the D chord, and I'm going to put my C with my second finger on the E string, and I'm going to mute out the A string, so I get this. So I can move between. Gives us there is this Lydian sound. So I've got the C moving against this D chord, which contains F sharp, which is the raised fourth, and then going back on the 4, which gives me the root of the C, as far as the Lydian, the root in the C Lydian. So I've got this major chord there, travelling to this 5 chord, but pulling it back to the C by putting the C in the bass. So 2 chords that share a common centre, which is the C, and we're going to be using C Lydian. Now I do have a backing track that you will be able to download from the link. Let's try that with my teeth back in. I do have a backing track that you can download by clicking on the link, which is in the description below. Well, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to put the backing track on, and I'm just going to play a few little Lydian lines. Just a few ideas so you can hear this. And then we're going to talk about how we can start to use simple scale shapes to play these Lydian lines. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you on the other side. Now let's start to look at what scales we can play over it. Now, obviously, we can play C Lydian scale over the top of it. C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And we've got that. Now, we are then going to the 3 note, the string, and this is where a lot of people, when they first start to play the modes, they get a little bit confused, and what happens, everything just sounds very scalier. You're just going up and down the scale. And they find it very hard. A lot of my students, it just sounds like repetitive scales because they don't know how to break out from that to create a different sound. What I'm going to show you now is what I wish I had been shown long ago when I first started playing this. The first scales that you ever tend to learn are your pentatonics. So wouldn't it make sense that if we could use our pentatonic scales and the knowledge that we have from playing pentatonic to create the Lydian sound, wouldn't that be so much easier and simpler? Of course it would be. That's what we're going to look at. So how do we go about using pentatonic scales to create this Lydian sound? So let's think about what we've got here. We know that we are in a root and a scale that's related to G major. We could then, in theory, be able to play G major pentatonic over the top of that to give us some of the notes that we need from our Lydian scale. But again, trying to make this very simple, a lot of students, when they first start, they find themselves very comfortable with the minor pentatonics. They tend to use that a lot because they start to play the blues, play rock, minor pentatonics are where they are. So wouldn't it be easier then to use a minor pentatonic? And of course it would be. So which one? Well, we'd said G, but we want to keep it minor. Well, why not use E minor pentatonic? Because that's the relative minor to the G. So the notes that we've got from there, we have got an E, we've got a G, we've got an A, we've got a B, we've got a D, and back to E. And of course, you can continue them through as we used to play. So we've got a selection of notes, we've got 5 notes that are part of that scale. The one that we're missing, which is the key one for us, is that raised fourth, which is the F sharp. Well, when we go across and play that D with the C in the bass, we've got the F sharp playing in there. So when we play over the top of that while we're using our E minor pentatonic, we do have that Lydian sound. And we can, using our ideas, our pentatonic little lines and our licks, to play through that. But we're still missing one element here. We still need a pentatonic scale that gives us our F sharp. Well, let's think about what we've got left, because the answer's got to be in here. We can't use the major chord position. We can't use G, that's a major. We've got A. Well, can we use A? Well, no, it won't work because A is a relative minor to C. It contains C, D, F, G. It doesn't have the F sharp in it, so we can't use A. We can't use the C, but we're using the C as the major, so we know that's going to work. The D isn't going to work, it's a major one. The one we got left is B. Now let's see if it does have the F sharp in it. Well, we've got B, we've got D, we've got E, F sharp, hey, great, we've got our F sharp. We continue through, we've got our A, and then back to B. So if we was to mix the two scales together by playing between E minor and B minor, we would have all the notes for C Lydian. How simple could that be? If we can play pentatonics, we're comfortable with pentatonics, we are now starting to learn the positions and how to shift on the position of the pentatonics. Let's just combine them two together. So I can start lines to create them sounds. Great, wonderful stuff. And let's take it this one stage further. If we were to play E minor in 4th position, we would actually be starting on this B note. So we've got E minor 4th position, and we can play that mixed in with B minor 1st position. So we've got the two combined together. So we can work between them two different shapes. And with the backing track on, you'll be able to hear that. Let's just have a quick section. Now let's take it even one stage further. We've got our two minor pentatonic shapes. Wouldn't it be real cool if we could bridge a gap between the two of them so we're not just automatically moving backwards and forwards, because that's what would happen. Well, let's combine a part of the Lydian scale into this. So we've got a bridge. And what I like to do, I've got my C Lydian scale here, which is... Now I'm into E. So what I do, I take a repetitive pattern here as a link between the two. And the most easiest way, if I'm on my B minor pentatonic here, is I'm going to take 9, 10, 12 on the A, and take that repetitive pattern, symmetrical pattern there again. So I'm doing on the D, 9, 10, 12. On the G string, I'm going to do 9, 11, 12. And it puts me into my minor position. So I can take that. And just keep moving around. But using that just as a real cool little bridge. So there's another tool that you can use to start to expand your playing. You've gone from your two pentatonics and now we're using that little pattern there as a link between the two. Now, what I'm going to do now is look at some of the lines that I used in that opening section of the song, well, the track when we first came in, and to show you some ideas of what I like to do. So I've got the backing track playing in the background, and that's my C, backwards and forwards. Well, I can come in thinking G major, because we know the G major is the major scale related to the C major. So I can just 3 notes per string. And what I like to do is once I'm on this B string, I take an idea, Paul Gilbert idea, and I use patterns where I'm going to pick between 5, 7 and 8, and then symmetrical underneath. So I'll pick, hammer, hammer, and pick the last 3 notes on the E string, move up, and I'm doing 7, 8, 10. 7, 8, 10 on the high E, and then I move up to 8, 10, 12. Same thing on the E string. Now this is where it varies, and this is where we get our Lydian sound. I'm going on the B string 10, 12, 13, and then I'm going to do 10, 12, 14. So again, then I move up B, I'm going to do 12, 14, 15, sorry, 10, 13, 12, 13, 15, so 12, 14, 15, then 13, 15, 17, and then on the high E, I'm going to do 14, 15, 17, and then I can come back to my E minor pentatonic. So that's a little thing that I like to do. And then exit back down again. Now here's a little tapping idea that you can utilize, where I'm going to go 10 on the B, tap on 17 on the B. And then I'm going to 10, 12, 14 on the high E, tap on 17 on the high E. So I get a nice tapping sequence, which you probably saw right at the beginning. I was putting that on that little playthrough right at the beginning. Another one, still talking about tapping, I can go through the pentatonic shape on B pentatonic. So I've got playing through the notes on, but tap notes in E minor pentatonic, or I can just go to the set, I can do 15 on the high E, 15 on the B, coming down pentatonic, and then 14. So I got the two together. To create a nice little sequence again over that backing track. It's going to sound pretty cool. So just simple way using a tapping technique on that. As you start to develop the sound in your head of this Lydian mode, then you'll start to use and combine all the elements together. But using these two pentatonics is a great way of starting out, and I'm sure you can see that. Of course, this is the same idea that I used in the Dorian lesson, which I did previously, where I was combining two simple pentatonic, two minor pentatonic shapes. And if you wanted to see that video, link will be below, and it'll explain how to use the same method as what I'm doing here, combining simple pentatonic scales. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I hope it kind of got your juices flowing now on how you can start to play the Lydian. If you did enjoy, don't forget, click on the link. I've got more of these lessons coming up. I'm going to try and do at least one lesson a week looking at theory and one lesson just looking at song and how to play it. So if you do enjoy the theory side of the lessons in this channel, click on the link and then you'll be notified when they come through. If you've got any questions about certain techniques that are really confusing you, drop me a note and I'll see if I can put together a lesson that kind of makes it a lot more simplified for you to understand. Well, I'm going to let you go. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to jam out on this backing track again and just have some fun. So stick around if you just want to hear some more Lydian playing. But until next time, it's Jeff Sinker from SkypeGuitarLessonsOnline.com. Wishing you well. Thanks for your company as always, and I will speak to you again soon. Until then, goodbye.